Hello and welcome to Focus. When US President Barack Obama came to office a year ago, he set himself a challenge to close the Guantánamo Bay detention center in Cuba within 12 months. A year on, the president has failed his task, but it's not for a lack of trying. Just recently, it was revealed that some of the 192 detainees left at Guantánamo, a Justice Department task force, has recommended that around 50 of them be held without trial under the laws of war. 35 be prosecuted in federal or military courts, and the remaining prisoners to be released, a process that's already underway. But the question is, where did those 50 permanent prisoners actually go when Guantánamo closes its gates? One possibility is a small town back in Barack Obama's home state, Illinois.
It's hard to imagine any place so different from Guantánamo Bay at this time of year. The Illinois plains are covered by snow. The Mississippi's waters have turned to ice. We are far away from the tropics, but it's this village, Thompson, that the US media now call Guantánamo North. The mayor wrote a letter to the White House last autumn to offer a brand new prison unused for 8 years.
It started construction in 99, I thought. 98, maybe, and it was completed in 2001. Well, every year we were promised. Then it'd come out with the budget of the state of Illinois, no money.
The buildings look a lot like the ones that have been set up in Guantánamo. And Barack Obama, who used to be senator for this state, was desperately looking for a place willing to take the 200 or so detainees left at the US base. For the village, this is all good news. 3,000 jobs come with the prisoners. Not bad for a village of 500 people.
These will be good paying jobs if it goes through and all that.
The plan has been met by protests here in the US, but not in Thompson. The White House is promising the safest prison in the world, and the residents believe it.
I think we'll have less problem with it being a federal facility than we would have had it opened as a state maximum security prison.
John Whitney is the publisher of the local newspaper. He received a few letters protesting the transfer of terrorist suspects here, but all these letters came from far away. Here, he says, almost everyone is happy with the plan. There are jobs, of course, but there's also a sense of patriotism.
I feel that we are asked by our president, our commander-in-chief, to serve our country. I think we have an obligation to do that. I think that's what we do. I believe strongly in our Constitution. I believe strongly in our system of laws.
The Thompson prison won't open for months, perhaps a year, but time is short for Thompson, a village about to be thrust into the center of the world's attentions.
I know it's a small community. There's going to be a lot of changes here. But people were asking the board, asking me, try to get it open. Well, we're trying to.
For sure, if and when they come here, Guantánamo prisoners will discover very different surroundings and weather. But Thompson will also be transformed by their presence here.
Well, joining me for the discussion today in the studio is Anne-Marie Lizin, author of the book Mission Guantánamo and special reporter on Guantánamo for the Organisation for Security and Cooperation in Europe. Welcome to Français and qu'elle. Can I just first of all start by asking you why the delay in the closure of Guantánamo Bay?
Well, from the beginning we have said at the Obama administration that it will be more difficult than just say, yeah, as he has done on the 21st of January, just we want to close it and you have 1 year to do it. We knew from inside and from the people involved during years in trying to close it, because at the end Mr. Bush has said also that it should be closed. So the difficulties are what to do with the people. To send them back is impossible. Those who should have been sent back are back. And some of them, 20%, as they say at the White House yesterday, are going back to fight. So it means it's difficult for any American administration, and especially any American president, to decide to send people back if they fight against the U.S. Army again. So definitely, it was difficult. The negotiation for transferring has been done in a positive way With Bush, it was a negative way. In this case, it was positive with the European countries, but also with different other countries. And even they tried with Yemen to find a way to put them back to Yemen. But it appears clearly it's too dangerous.
Of the 50 detainees that will be held without trial, moving them to this new detention centre within the United States, why is that any different from, Guantánamo Bay in Cuba? Surely it's just moving the detention centre north.
I think that the activity of a big detainee center with such a symbolic value, negative value for the U.S. Army, is something that anyway they want to finish with it. So it means going back into an American system of judiciary is better. And definitely try to have trial for everybody. It's a game also for lawyers now inside the American system. And well, let's say half of the critics are faced with that decision that it will be under American law. So you have all the people that have no trial possible inside the American system because you just don't have anything in the fight against them except the place where they were taken by the U.S. Army. So this is the difficulties that they still have, around 100 people to be transferred somewhere.
And how does the US persuade a country to take some of these prisoners?
So they have
what incentives do they give them?
Well, incentive. Sometimes it can be building a jail there or special facilities for this situation, but as they have done in Afghanistan, because most of them were Taliban in the first period, and they have been back to Afghanistan in special conditions. The condition were that they should be followed in the country where they are arriving, which is not their national country, but even if it was a national country, let's say Algerians, so they had to be also facing trial in their country of back. And the second thing is being very, very cautious in making impossible for them to return to fight against the U.S. Army. And this condition were engaging also a signature of a high-level political man in the country, like president in some cases or minister of interior. So it is something that very few people like to do, and definitely it was very difficult to get it, because if you say, and no torture, the third aspect was no torture in the country. So if you take the Algerian prisoner, it's still now very hard guys, because they were on the personal guard of bin Laden sometimes, even if they don't recognize it. So it means it is not this sort of innocent people that in some cases you have had this picture in the entire world that were innocent people. No, it was not innocent people. It was people taken from a place where normally they were not supposed to be, like Algerian fighters, and of course, in the file you have nothing except maybe the arms they were using. And it makes you impossible to have an American correct trial. But in fact, these people could be very dangerous when they go back. And this difficulties is still going on for the last one.
Okay, can I just ask you then, when will we see an end to Guantánamo? Because it isn't closed yet.
No, so that's clearly all. Well, a part of Guantánamo was prepared for the trials in containers for the families, containers for the lawyer, containers for the judges, and this is finished. So they will do it on American territory, which is better for everybody, even for the lawyer. They will have more. It will be easier for everybody to go to a decision of, let's say, 15 years in jail or anything like that, or even the problem, death penalty in U.S. So this is why this part of Guantanamo will be closed. But the rest, those who will not be easily transferred, like the Yemenite people who are a huge part of those who are staying there. Mr. Obama has said clearly that it was not possible to negotiate now because Yemen is completely under fire in two big places, and this means no Yemenite will be moving now, so they still have to keep them. So maybe 1 year, maybe more.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. I'm very sorry, we must leave it there. That brings us to an end. Thank you very much, Anne-Marie Lizin, for joining us for today's edition of Focus. Bye-bye.